Welcome to a new video from the Color Vistas brand. Today we're going to tackle a common sublimation problem that can ruin your designs. Sublimation ghosting. Ghosting happens when your design shifts during the sublimation process, causing a blurry double image effect. It's frustrating, but I'm going to show you exactly how to fix and prevent it. Let's get started. So, what is sublimation ghosting? Before we dive into the solutions, let's talk about what sublimation ghosting actually is. Sublimation ghosting happens when your transfer paper moves during the heat press process, causing parts of the design to blur or duplicate. The result is a ghost effect that looks like a faint shadow or misprint next to your design. There are several reasons ghosting can happen, but the good news is that it's completely preventable with the right techniques. Some common causes of ghosting. Ghosting can be caused by a few different factors. Paper shift. One of the main causes of ghosting is the sublimation paper moving while the heat press is applied. Even a slight shift can cause blurring or a double image. Incorrect heat press settings. If the temperature, pressure, or time settings on your heat press aren't optimized, this can lead to ghosting. Too much heat or pressure can cause the paper to warp or slide. Premature paper removal. Lifting the heat press too quickly or moving the paper before it has cooled can result in ghosting. The ink is still in the process of transferring, and if the paper shifts during this time, ghosting can occur. Best practices to prevent ghosting. Now let's go over some tried and true methods to avoid ghosting in the first place. Prevention is always better than having to fix a ruined print. Secure the sublimation paper. One of the simplest and most effective ways to prevent ghosting is to securely tape down the sublimation paper using heat-resistant tape. Make sure to apply the tape to all four corners of the paper to keep it in place during the heat transfer process. Use spray adhesive. For larger projects or fabrics, spray adhesives designed for sublimation can help keep the paper from shifting. Apply a light mist of adhesive to the back of the paper before placing it on the substrate. Check heat press settings. Always double-check your temperature and pressure settings. Use the recommended temperature for your specific sublimation substrate and paper, and ensure the pressure is firm but not overly tight. Too much pressure can cause the paper to wrinkle or move. Pre-pressing. Pre-pressing your substrate for a few seconds before applying the sublimation print can help remove any moisture or wrinkles, which could cause the paper to shift or curl. Let's move on to fixing ghosting when it happens. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, ghosting can still occur. Here's how you can handle it. Evaluate the damage. The first step is to assess how severe the ghosting is. If it's a minor shift, you may be able to salvage the print by carefully removing the paper and reheating the item. Reprint the design. If the ghosting is too significant to ignore, you might need to reprint the design. When doing this, make sure to address the cause of the ghosting, paper movement, heat settings, etc., before trying again. Use a protective sheet. If you're printing on apparel or fabric, placing a protective sheet like parchment paper or butcher paper over the design can sometimes prevent the transfer from moving around during pressing. Let's now move on to troubleshooting. Tips for common ghosting issues. If ghosting is happening frequently, here are some quick troubleshooting tips. Temperature too high. If your heat press temperature is too high, it can cause the sublimation paper to curl or warp, which can lead to ghosting. Try lowering the temperature slightly and see if that helps prevent the issue. Pressure too light. While too much pressure can cause problems, too little pressure can also lead to ghosting. Make sure the pressure is firm enough to keep the sublimation paper flat against the substrate during pressing. Improper alignment. Make sure the sublimation paper is correctly aligned with the substrate before pressing. Even a slight misalignment can cause the design to shift during pressing, leading to ghosting. Moisture issues. Moisture is often an overlooked factor in sublimation printing. If there's moisture in the paper or substrate, it can cause ghosting. Always pre-press your item to remove any moisture before sublimating. Handling heat press timing. The amount of time you leave your heat press down is crucial to preventing ghosting. Leaving the press on for too long can cause the ink to overgas, leading to blurry designs. Here are the optimal timing guidelines for various substrates: hard surfaces, ceramic, metal, etc. Typically, 60 to 90 seconds at 380 to 400 degrees Celsius is enough for hard substrates. If the ghosting occurs, try reducing the press time slightly. Fabrics, polyester blends. For fabrics, the time will vary depending on the thickness and material, but around 45 to 60 seconds at 385 degrees is a good starting point. Always follow the recommended settings for the specific fabric. Using the right sublimation paper. Another way to prevent ghosting is by using high-quality sublimation paper. Cheap paper can curl or warp under heat, increasing the likelihood of movement and ghosting. Look for paper that is specifically designed for sublimation, like TexPrint or A-Sub, to ensure better results. Also, make sure to store your sublimation paper in a cool, dry place to prevent moisture buildup, which can lead to ghosting and other transfer issues. What about the importance of post-press handling? Once your heat press cycle is complete, it's important to handle the substrate carefully. Let it cool. Let the item cool down slightly before removing the sublimation paper. This allows the ink to set and reduces the risk of smudging or ghosting as you lift the paper. Remove paper gently. When it's time to remove the sublimation paper, do so slowly and carefully. Pulling the paper off too quickly can cause it to shift and result in a ghosted image. Now let's move on to some final thoughts. How to achieve great prints. To avoid sublimation ghosting and ensure crisp, vibrant designs every time, remember these key points. Secure your paper properly, use the correct heat press settings, and handle your projects with care both before and after pressing. With the right techniques and a little attention to detail, you'll be able to eliminate ghosting and produce flawless sublimation prints. Thanks for watching this video. I hope these tips help you prevent and fix sublimation ghosting in your future projects. I will leave links in the description for sublimation products and tools where applicable, and make sure to visit my website for more detailed guides and resources. See link in the description below. See you in the next video.